It's the holiday season, and that means that there's extra rounds of soccer coming fast and furious in the midweek, with extra match days coming fast and furious. Now this week we have the Bundesliga, La Liga, and Liga among the top 5 leagues that will be being played on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I have 3 parlays from the Bundesliga and La Liga to focus on in this video. So let's get into it. Now let's just recap on the weekend. It was a great weekend. These parlays went 4-1. They went 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, and 2-1, with just Stuttgart needing to get 1 goal against Bayern. We were that 1 goal away from going a perfect sweep. Should have maybe just gone over 2.5 goals, but that doesn't really matter. Overall, we are 33-12 in these parlays. We'll try to keep rolling with this week's midweek picks. Now, while listening, please help me out. Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel for more picks, or even just leave a comment down below with what you're betting this week. Let's get into the first parlay. It's starting on Tuesday. It's Bremen and Leipzig in Bundesliga. Tuesday kicks off with this game. 2 of the many teams in the Bundesliga that usually see goals in their games. Over 1.5 is 13-2 for both of these teams. Bremen games average 3.4 goals per match, while Leipzig games are averaging 3.5 goals per match. Werder, they've either scored 2 goals, allowed 2 goals, or both in each of their past 7 games. Now, all 4 wins for Bremen have been at home, and that's where they are here. And they will also have some extra rest, as their last game was on Friday. Leipzig has won 4 straight in all competitions. Those scores are 3-1, 2-1, 3-2, and 2-1. If you go back even further, they lost 3-1 and 3-2, and they won 3-1 and 3-2 prior to that. So both teams to score and over 2.5 is now on a perfect 8-0 run if you were betting that in Leipzig games. Both teams to score is 4-0 in the last 4 meetings between these teams. There's also never been fewer than 2 goals in any of their past 13 all-time meetings. Let's go over 1.5 goals in this game. Next up, it's Dortmund and Mainz. Dortmund is winless in their past 5 games in all competitions after they drew Augsburg 1-1 on the weekend, but that came after a big Champions League game a few days earlier against PSG, so perhaps they were a little tired there. The other games in that stretch was a loss to Leipzig, a loss to Stuttgart, and a draw in Leverkusen. Now, those are all pretty good teams. Now, last year, these teams drew 2-2 at this venue in Dortmund, and that was the game that cost Dortmund the title, so perhaps they could have some revenge here and be ready to go. Dortmund also won the 4 previous meetings before that last meeting against this team. But Mainz, they're not a good team, unlike some of those other teams that Dortmund has struggled against recently. They're 17th, they're 1-6-8, they're 0-5-3 on the road, and they have just 7 goals in those 8 games. In all competitions, they have just 1 win in their past 16 games, going back into last season as well. All of their games have been tight, though, at least more recently. They have a 1-0 loss, a 0-0 draw, a 1-0 loss, a 1-1 draw, and a 0-0 draw. But that's still just 1 goal scored in their past 5 games. And on the road, they have drawn 5 straight in the Bundesliga. But I do think someone will score in this game, and it's most likely Dortmund. When you look at Dortmund's games, they've not had a 0-0 draw in 142 games. Dortmund have also scored in 34 of 35 Bundesliga games, only failing to do so recently once against Bayern Munich. If Dortmund can get 1 or even 2 goals, that should be more than enough for the win against the Mainz team that struggles to score. At home, in the Bundesliga, Dortmund are 16-2-2 in their past 20. We'll go for a Dortmund win in this game. And we'll round out this parlay with Hoffenheim and Darmstadt. On paper, this looks like an easy Hoffenheim win. They're 7th, they're 7-2-6. Darmstadt are 18th, they're 2-3-10, and they're 1-1-5 on the road, where they've been outscored 22-7. Darmstadt also give up the most goals overall, 38 in the league. Hoffenheim have scored also in 19 straight games. But Hoffenheim do, for some reason, struggle at home, where they are just 2-1-4. They've scored 12, and they've been outscored, or they've allowed 14. They also have just 1 win in 7 in all competitions, so maybe a little tough to feel confident backing them to win a game right now. Darmstadt, though, are winless in 8. They've scored just 3 goals in 5. And we should, I think, though, some way, shape, or form, see at least 2 goals here. Both teams to score is 14-1 for Hoffenheim in the Bundesliga. Over 1.5, so at least 2 goals in their games, is a perfect 15-0 so far. Over 1.5 is 11-4, meanwhile, for Darmstadt in the Bundesliga. Now, both teams' games also average 3.7 goals per match, which is tied for the 3rd highest overall. So let's go over 1.5 and not care where those 2 goals come from. So we'll go Hoffenheim, Darmstadt, over 1.5, Bremen and Leipzig over 1.5, and a Dortmund win coming in at minus 106 odds in that Bundesliga parlay. And I have another Bundesliga parlay. This one is all going down on a Wednesday. Started off with Leverkusen and Bochum until Leverkusen loses. they're just an easy parlay piece to include in any bet right now. Sure, they're minus 500, but they just keep winning. We have to include them in some way. They're first in the Bundesliga. They just won a 3-0 at home over Frankfurt, and they're 21-3-0, so still undefeated across all competitions this year. In fact, the 77 goals they've scored in all of those competitions is the best of any team in the top 5 European leagues. I'm not going to pick Bochum, who are 13th, 3-7-5 overall, and 1-3-4 on the road, outscored 20-6 to end that streak. Let's just go Leverkusen to win. They'll probably score 2, maybe 3. You could probably use them on the spread at 1.5 if you want a little bit better odds. Next, Frankfurt and Gladbach. These are two mid-table teams, Frankfurt being 8th, Gladbach 11th. Now, Frankfurt, they were winless in 5 games in all competitions before they had a shocking 5-1 win over Bayern Munich. However, they couldn't follow that up with a good result. They've lost 2-0 and 3-0 recently to Aberdeen in the Conference League and Leverkusen in the Bundesliga. Looking at Gladbach, their games average the second highest goals per match in the Bundesliga at 4.20. They're also the second highest both teams to score team, with 80% of their games, or 12 of 15, going that way. They were shut out to Leverkusen and Leipzig, 2 better teams, earlier in the season, and they have 1 shutout, shutting out Wolfsburg as well. They've scored in 10 straight games, including Friday's 2-2 draw with Bremen. That will mean extra rest for them as well, with Frankfurt having played on Sunday. Gladbach's road games, they've not only seen both teams to score, but also both teams to score in over 2.5. That prop hitting in each of the past 10 if you go back into last season. So there's been plenty of goals in every Gladbach recent road game. They do, despite scoring, rarely win. They have only 2 road wins in 26 going back into last season as well for Gladbach. So you can't really feel good about either team getting a win right here, given the poor road form for Gladbach and their defense not being very good, and the fact that Frankfurt only have 1 win in 8, and they've allowed 16 goals in those 8 games, allowing multiple goals in 7 of those 8 games. But when you can feel confident about is that there should be goals in this game. Both teams' scores also hit in the past 4 meetings between them, in 9 of the 10 meetings between them, and there's been 3 or more goals in 7 of the past 10 meetings between these teams. I'm going for both teams to score. And the third leg will be Stuttgart and Augsburg. Stuttgart, they're now winless in 2, but that's after a 3-0 loss to Bayern on the weekend and a 1-1 draw with Leverkusen, 2 of the top teams in the league. Now they scored, though, in 13 of 15 overall this season. Augsburg, they're also winless in 2. They drew 1-1 with Dortmund this weekend, and they have a 2-0 loss to Bremen prior to that. But they have been rejuvenated of late. They're 3-4-1, so just 1 loss in their past 8, and they scored a goal in 7 of those 8 games. They've also scored in 12 of 15 overall in the Bundesliga, but they have conceded in every single game as well. Historically, when these teams meet in their head-to-heads in recent years, the scores have been 1-1, 2-1, 3-2, 4-1, 2-1, and 4-1. Every single Stuttgart and Augsburg game has seen at least 2 or more goals this season, so over 1.5 has gone 15-0 for each team. Why would we buck that trend here? Let's stick with it. Let's go over 1.5. Stuttgart, Augsburg, over 1.5. Both teams to score with Frankfurt and Gladbach, and a Leverkusen win would come in at plus money at plus 115. Now, one more parlay to go. Let's switch over to Spain and go to La Liga. Let's kick it off with Barcelona and Almeria. Barcelona, they're not playing well right now. They're now winless in 3. They've drawn 1-1 with Valencia. They lost 3-2 to Antwerp, and they lost 4-2 to Girona. Now, this could be, though, the perfect opponent to change their fortunes and get back on track against Almeria, who are 20th, and they are winless still in La Liga. They're 0-5-12. They've also given up the most goals, 39, in those 17 games. Now, on the road for Almeria, they're 0-1-7. They've been outscored 21-7, and they've given up multiple goals in 6 of 8 games. Now, if you go back, obviously they've not been in La Liga every year, so they haven't been playing every season. But if you go back to 2015, across the seasons they have been in La Liga, they only have 1 road win in La Liga in the last 34 games. Overall, right now, they have no La Liga wins in their past 20. Home or away, though, that being home or away. However, they did beat Barcelona 1-0 when they were playing at home way back in February. So now Barcelona playing at home, they should be motivated to not be upset in the odds again, as they are huge favorites here. And this looks like the good opponent to get back on track against. Like I said, let's go Barcelona over 1.5 goals, as Almeria have just been leaking goals when they're on the road. Alaves and Real Madrid for the next one. It's 13th Alaves hosting 2nd place Real Madrid here. Alaves just lost away 3-0 to Girona on Monday. They should be tired here, having to play 3 days later in a quick turnaround. Madrid, that Girona win should keep them motivated to try to keep pace. They're 2 points back from Girona right now. Madrid has just one loss all season. They beat Alaves 3-0 and 4-1 last year. It should be more of the same here, but just in case, I like to play it safe in these parlays. Let's go Madrid, double chance. That's a win or draw. Certainly, if you want better odds, you could just go Madrid to win. And finally, Betis and Girona. Looks like goals in this game. To me, you at least would think, when you consider that any Girona game usually looks like goals. They average the highest goals per match in the league at 3.6. Girona has scored 3, 4, 5, and 2 goals in their past 4 games. Those score lines have been 3-0, 4-2, 5-2 in the Copa del Rey, and 2-1. And like I said earlier, in the last prediction, they just won 3-0 on Monday. But that, for them as well, could see them a little tired, as they will turn around and play again just a few days later. Now, in all competitions, Girona have scored in 18 of 19 this season, only failing to do so against Madrid. However, they have conceded a goal in 14 of 19. For Betis, they are tied. They are 7th, but they have just 2 losses, and only Girona and Madrid with 1 loss have fewer this season. But that's because they're in 7th despite those few losses. It's because they tie a lot of games. They have 9 draws, which is the most, tied for the most in the league. They've also drawn each of their past 3. They've drawn 4 of 5, but they are undefeated, though, in 12 straight La Liga games. They're also undefeated overall at home this season. They're 5-3-0. They have 11 goals for, and they've only allowed 3 goals. They've also scored in each of their 6 straight home games at home. So I think this game could be tight. We could possibly see a draw, 1-1, perhaps an unders bet, when you consider under 2.5 is 10-2 in the past 12 Betis La Liga games. But then if you look at the Girona side, the over is 9-3 in their past 12. I think both teams have scoring capability here, but only one team has a strong defense, and that team is Betis, and they are at home. So I'm just going to ask Betis to get 1 goal. So it'll be Betis to score, Madrid double chance, Barcelona to score 2. It's -151, not a high pair, but we can just chip away with a lot of little wins here. That wraps up this midweek card for me, whether you take these picks or use this information to make some other bets of your own. Good luck with all of your bets this week in European soccer action.